Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're trying to figure out the real mechanics of financial independence, and honestly all the heavy philosophical baggage that comes with it, you are exactly where you need to be. Today, we're diving straight into a totally fascinating debate that recently kind of blew up in the Singaporean personal finance community. It really strikes at the core of why we work so hard, how we save, and what we actually consider to be true wealth. We're going to unpack that intense tension between cash flow, fixed assets, and the ultimate pursuit of happiness in one of the absolute most expensive cities on the planet. Let's get into it.
Are we blindly chasing numbers? Because that is the core tension of everything we're looking at today. For anyone even slightly interested in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, there is usually this singular intense focus on hitting some massive specific net worth target. But this explainer is going to challenge that whole narrative. The anxiety we're talking about stems from a very real fear, the fear of sacrificing absolutely everything. Your youth, your energy, your happiness today, all just to hit some arbitrary retirement number tomorrow. Is this relentless hustle for a number actually blinding us to the life we're living right now?
To really get where this debate begins, we have to look at this deeply existential point brought up by a user named BubblyEye41. They pose a super heavy question. If your entire life is just dedicated to the grind, overworking yourself just to pay off some massive fixed asset like a fancy condo, is that actually going to make you happy? And they bring up a grim, but honestly necessary point. What if you pass away early? Actually, think about that for a second. If you spend your whole life building a giant mountain of money but never actually use it, you leave this world with zero memories and zero lived experiences. In their view, living purely for the numbers makes you, paradoxically, incredibly poor.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because anyone planning for FIRE in Singapore is basically staring down two terrifying extremes. On one side of the scale, we have the fear we just talked about, dying early with a bunch of unspent wealth, realizing you sacrificed all your current joy for a future that literally never arrived. But then, on the exact opposite side of the scale, you have the completely terrifying prospect of living a really long life in crushing poverty just because you didn't save enough. And how you balance these two absolute extremes, well, that pretty much dictates your entire financial strategy.
Section 1. Chasing the big number.
So let's unpack that deep anxiety embedded in the daily rat race. You see, the anxiety of the chase isn't just about missing out on weekend fun. It's about what that money actually ends up being used for. Community member Keith Wee0909 points out this sobering reality that's becoming way too common. People work relentlessly to become cash rich, right? But because they absolutely wreck their health and well-being during those working years, all that accumulated wealth just gets funneled straight to doctors and nurses for end-of-life care. The money might prolong their life, but it doesn't give them any actual quality of life. It's a pretty powerful warning against hoarding wealth at the total expense of your physical and mental health.
Section 2. The harsh retirement reality. Now, as nice as it sounds to just chill out and live for today, user Capuchin99 hits us with a pretty stark reality check. The pushback against simply living in the moment comes from a very deep-seated, valid fear. Like they said, in Singapore, retiring in poverty is very real. It's harsh. The crazy high cost of living doesn't just magically disappear the day you stop working. For a lot of people, chasing that big number isn't about greed. It's not about status. It's a purely defensive strategy. It's about hitting a specific mathematical milestone so they can finally exit the race securely, guarantee they won't outlive their money, and just get the freedom to live the rest of their lives meaningfully.
And why is that safety net so insanely hard to build and keep? One word: inflation. A huge consensus in the community is that this aggressive chase for money is honestly just a mathematical necessity for survival. Think about it. Even if you have $1 million in cold hard cash sitting there right now, the devastating effect of global inflation means its purchasing power is going to be worth much, much less in a decade. So people aren't necessarily chasing more wealth so they can buy luxury yachts. They are desperately trying to build enough of a buffer just to keep up with inflation and preserve their current standard of living.
Consider the number 3.50. If you're local, you know exactly what that means. It grounds all this economic anxiety in a very real, everyday reality. It's the record Singapore dollar to Malaysian ringgit exchange rate target that came up in the source material. One user made a brilliant point. It's super easy to say, just be happy with less. But we have to recognize the insane lengths people will go to for financial security. Every single day, neighbors from Malaysia sacrifice their free time, brave massive checkpoint crowds, and risk their health commuting into Singapore just to earn a stronger currency. They are actively chasing that 3.50 exchange rate because financial security is absolutely paramount. It just proves that the drive to secure your financial future is this undeniable force across the whole region.
Section 3. Defining true assets.
So the crucial point is, how do we reconcile these two opposing forces? That intense fear of dying with unspent wealth versus the terrifying fear of living a long life in poverty. A major mindset shift actually comes from user Durian881. For the longest time, the ultimate Singaporean dream was a fully paid-off, expensive fixed asset, the high-end condo. But this user argues that chasing fixed assets isn't the actual key to happiness. Instead, they found their contentment by investing in liquid assets that generate ongoing income. It's a massive shift away from tying up your entire net worth into a concrete box and moving toward assets that literally put money in your pocket today.
Let's define this clearly for our explainer. A cash flow generating asset is a liquid investment that produces regular, ongoing income. Think dividend stocks, index funds, or bonds. And why is this such a game changer? Because focusing on cash flow directly attacks both of our fears. It fights off the fear of poverty by giving you a steady stream of income that outpaces inflation. And it addresses the need for present-day freedom by giving you lifestyle flexibility right now. You aren't just sitting on top of a massive, illiquid number you can't touch. You have actual cash flowing in that you can use to enjoy your life today.
Let's look at how this builds into a solid, mechanical rule for wealth preservation, which the community pretty much universally agrees on. Uninvested cash, it gets rapidly eroded by inflation. It literally just melts away, guaranteeing you lose purchasing power over time. But true assets, they retain their value and act like a golden goose, generating a steady income for you. By converting your melting cash into income-generating assets, you are actively protecting yourself from inflation while simultaneously funding your life right now and in the future.
Section 4. Finding the financial balance.
And this brilliantly illustrates the foundation of finding that balance, perfectly summed up by user Celestial517. Personal finance is more about personal than finance. Everyone's FIRE number is entirely subjective. There is no magic, one-size-fits-all target. Your financial plan absolutely must be tied to your own unique lifestyle desires, your own risk tolerance, and your very own definition of happiness. If you are constantly comparing your numbers to your neighbor's numbers, you are playing a game you will literally never win.
To prove just how incredibly subjective this whole thing is, user SilentScope98201 points out the ultimate local baseline. If you can truly genuinely be contented with a modest 3-room HDB flat and eating kai pang, mixed veg rice, every single day, your required FIRE number plummets. It drops through the floor. The intense pressure to chase massive wealth pretty much vanishes if your baseline for contentment is simple. The trap, as they rightly point out, is that people always want more. The real key to balance is figuring out exactly what more you actually need to be happy and then just stopping there.
So what does an actual balanced framework look like day to day? We've synthesized the best takeaways from the community into a few concrete rules. First off, realize that frugal does not equal cheap. Being frugal means selectively spending your money on the experiences and things you genuinely value, while just mercilessly cutting costs on the stuff you don't care about. Second, you don't need to save every single cent. Setting aside a comfortable percentage to invest, like say 30% of your income, is often totally enough to build steady wealth. Third, if your budget is well planned, a nice dinner out with your loved ones is not going to destroy your future. Ultimately, true financial independence is about enjoying your life right now through the freedom that mindful finance gives you.
As we wrap up this explainer, we absolutely have to anchor back to the most critical asset of all. Health is wealth. You cannot buy it. This was echoed over and over again across the source material. Listen, life does not magically begin at retirement. The journey toward financial independence is happening right now, today. And if you destroy your physical and mental well-being in the process of just acquiring numbers on a screen, you have failed the most important investment of all. You've got to protect yourself during the journey.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful question to chew on. Is your current financial strategy serving your life, or is your life serving your financial strategy? If you find yourself sacrificing every last bit of joy today for some distant, inflation-eroded tomorrow, it might just be time to rethink your assets, prioritize that cash flow, and rediscover your personal balance. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep evaluating, and I'll catch you in the next one.